Now, you still got a huge grin on my face, grinning like a Cheshire cat, and I've got some pretty things in front of me. But first of all, because a lot of you I know are new or returnees to the hobby, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This is Andy Hardy. You can see from his shirt. Rapido
Useful
Trains.
reminder. Useful reminder.
Andy.
Nice to meet you.
And you too, sir. For all these people out there, the boys and girls, we'd like to tell them who you are and what your role is and what your
Absolutely. So I'm Andy Hardy. I am the General Manager at Rapido Trains UK. So fundamentally, that means I spend my days, well, some would believe playing model trains, but I make a lot of the decisions regarding what trains we make for you guys to play with. And I work alongside people like Chris for doing commissions and making more and more model trains, basically.
Excellent. Now, I think what maybe some of you might appreciate is to find out a little bit more about Rapido. Yes, I know there's going to be some of you watching here are fully aware of Rapido. They are, to give you a bit of an idea, they're certainly in TMC's top 4 when it comes to our accounts for the stuff that we sell, particularly with new product. Let's have a little bit of a history lesson about Rapido, shall we?
So Rapido Trains started in Canada. So Jason Tron, who owns the company, 20 years ago set up a company to make high-end HO and Engage model trains. Lots of stuff that was his personal interest, so via rail, lots of things that hadn't been available before. And it was aimed at the higher end of the model railway market. So it was a move away from the likes of scale trains, high detail, high finesse, and high quality throughout. Jason studied in Birmingham for university and had a real love of British stuff, so decided 6 years ago, or nearly 6 years ago, that he wanted to set up a UK company. So I got taken on board. We've grown since then, so we've now got just under 20 staff here in the UK, doing everything from CAD design, artwork, through to all the operation stuff that you'd imagine with the warehouse or in warranty department. And then we work with our factories in China who, with most of our products, just do the tolerances and adding things like motors and mechanisms. And we've grown from strength to strength. We found lots of niches. So we make things like mainstream 00 stuff, but we found things like pre-grouping steam where other companies aren't fighting. It's given us lots of space to make lots of products. We're a little bit different. We use a pre-order model for everything we do. Yeah. And that allows us to be really nimble on our feet with products. We don't overproduce because we know how annoying it is when retailers have stuff sat in their bargain bins. It's not good for a retailer. It's not good for us. But we're also really aware that it's not good for the modeler if you underproduce and people can't get hold of something. We don't want modelers to be upset. We're all modelers.
It's a bit of a balance.
It's a really hard balance, but we spend a lot of time working on that to make sure that everyone's happy. The pre-order model allows us to pivot quite quickly when world events change, or if manufacturers release something that's either competitive or goes alongside a product we might be planning to do. So we've always got things up our sleeve to move around. It gives us a really nimble business. Everyone at Rapido is a railway modeler or a modeler or somehow interested in railways.
That nimble thing, is that a reflection of why you're called Rapido? Or is that something else?
No, so Rapido was a bit like Flying Scotsman was the name of a train service. Rapido was the name of a train service in Canada, so that's where the names come from.
Nothing to do with
nothing to do with how quick we do things.
Or...
No, nothing to do with any of that. Just when Jason was setting it up, he liked the names of the trains, so we had Rapido Trains as a name. But yeah, it works really well for us. We make all sorts of stuff. We're moving into different markets now, so we've made 00 and N. We've moved into 009 in the last couple of months. And then there's some more really exciting stuff coming up.
There is. I'm going to try and pause him a bit because I don't want it all coming out in one go. Right. A slight pause because I'm going to ask him a question that he may or may not want to answer. So we might have to edit this out and you'll just see a little jump of our heads. Okay. You have a slightly different relationship with the factories, don't you?
We do. So we work with a number of factories in China. I won't say how many, but it's several. And we work in a slightly different method than the traditional model railway approach. We've got a bit more of an input. We share them with our North American company as well. So between the two companies, we keep several of those factories fully occupied with just our stuff. So we work with them in a way that works very well for them, but it also works very, very well for us.
Does that mean they're almost exclusive for you?
Almost, yeah. Some of the factories almost are working exclusively for us.
Does that mean that you're not really beholden to various slots and things.
No, so we don't work with a slot system as such. The only thing we're sometimes beholden to is the either North American company needing to get something through the factory quicker than us, or vice versa. It's worked both ways. So we have regular.
But you guys
calls
can work that out.
Yeah, so we
you
speak,
don't get completely overruled.
No, we speak to each other, and our financial year end is at a different place to their financial year end, for example. Right. So there are periods in the year where they may want to move some products forward to get some stuff finished, or vice versa. Right. Chinese New Year is then the third factor in all of that when factories close down. Yeah. But we're very good at juggling it, and we're very good at spreading the work around between different factories. Different factories also have different skill sets for certain things. So we've got a certain factory that's really good for the 009 stuff, wouldn't necessarily go to one of the other factories. Yeah. But again, this is where the two companies get together with Jason, the owner, and we do quite a lot of planning to make sure we're right on track for this.
That's good to hear. Right. What these guys want to know is why I'm sat here, why we've got a row of pretty things in here. So to give you a little bit of background, 14, maybe 15 months ago, well, further back than that, Alex at TMC turned around to me and said, Chris, go out there. Go find projects. Let's go see what we can do and make happen. And so I went knocking on doors, and one of the doors I knocked on was these guys. It was at the Ali Pali show.
It certainly was.
Of course, the first thing I was asking for was GWR, and I got told, bugger off until someone makes a pannier. Right. I said, well, okay, what else is there? And he said, well, what do you want? And I said, well, to be honest with you, if I have a tick box, it would be something that is all over the country, something that ticks a few eras at least, ticks a number of regions, preferably as many as possible. And I said, I do feel like possibly some of the steam stuff might be being a little left behind a little bit, because obviously we can't do everything all the time. So we see if we fill a hole. And he turned around and he said, well, what about a 3-in-1 wagon? I was what do you mean a 3-in-1 wagon? And what he said was, there's a fish wagon that became an express parcels wagon that became a department wagon, going from period 5, 6, 7, and possibly a little bit into 8 with the departments.
Absolutely. So we punted the idea of a Diagram 801 fish van.
Exactly. And so this is what TMC is now commissioned with Rapido. Got a list of SKUs here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through what we're doing, and van by van, Andy's going to have to give you a bit of a fill-in. I'm obviously going to grab my notes because you know what I'm like. Now, the first thing that we're doing is this little white one. All right. Do we discuss something a little bit about the height of these? Because these are obviously the 00 version.
Yeah, okay.
Let's get this out of the way first.
Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. So we always hold our hands up when we make a mistake at Rapido because we're all modelers. And we had a slight error with the 001s where we made them slightly too short. Yeah. You would not believe it, but the drawing that we had scanned from the mainline railway companies that they gave us had this perfect crease in it that just meant that everything was slightly shrunk. So we were working off it. There was no measurement on the drawing, but it just wasn't quite perfect. So we can probably say then, with absolute fact, this will be the most accurate Diagram 801 fish van ever made, and it will be TT that will be the first place to have it absolutely correct. So there we go, an absolute first. It's not in 00 or N or something else first. The TT van will be the definitive 801 fish van.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the plan is that because this is the one that arguably had some of the longest rakes, this is the sort of thing that came down the East Coast predominantly. That's why this is the LNER, not the LNER, but it is the Eastern region version. This is the Era 5. This is the sort of thing where you could buy 1s or 2s because a little local port would shuffle out 1 or 2 wagons, and then they'd all get to a marshalling area, then make a bigger train, which then came hauling down from the north down to London. So this is the sort of thing that, although the stuff that really pulled these most of the time we don't actually have, you're not going to get shot if you push these around with an 08 or a J50.
Yep. And
you're certainly not going to get shot if you haul them down the East Coast behind an A4 or an A3.
Absolutely.
Right. Also, there's some of the earlier diesels, some of the green diesels.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end of the day, if the particular loco that was designed to pull this wasn't ready that day, they had to find something to fill in because this stuff was literally melting because they used to fill them full of ice, didn't they?
Yeah, so they were insulated fish vans. So as you say, they were designed to come down the East Coast Main Line from the Scottish ports at speed. So the reason they've got these little blue spots on them is because they were differentiated because they had roller bearings. They could run at 60 miles an hour. The idea was they would come in on the little branch lines to a central hub. These were the last batch of effectively the LNER design. So they were built by BR, but I think it was between 1960 and 1961 there were just over 550 of them. And they were seen in block trains running at speed, but it resulted in, A3s, A4s were seen pulling them occasionally right at the end of steam when they were on secondary duties, and then early first generation diesels and all sorts else. So, yeah, you're looking around at what's available in TT from the various manufacturers. Plausibly, a lot of it could have been seen at the front of one of these trains.
Yeah, and certainly, we can go on. We don't want to bore you with all which one. They're pretty, they're nice, and they will look good behind trains. They're longer than your normal vent wagon.
Yeah.
They are a very detailed model. Now, what we're going to do, what TMC is going to do, is we're going to do 2 triple packs. So there's 6 different running numbers. We're also going to do a particular single pack that has one with a little ice blue panel.
Yeah.
There'll be images popping up here, of course, you know me. But we're going to do something a little bit different with this one. And that is, we're also doing another single pack, and it's the one that's been preserved, is on the Bluebell line. And the reason we're doing that is because what else is down at the Bluebell line? The little B4 Normandy. And it has become quite a thing now in preservation lines where they will get a series of interesting preserved rolling stock and have them shuttle around. So it's not just about riding on a Mark 1 or a Mark 2 coach. You can actually see some interesting stuff being moved around, and that's
absolutely.
I think that's going to be the winner.
Absolutely, and likewise the Terrier. The Bluebell got a pair of Terriers, so perfect to go with that as well.
And the Bluebell one has an interesting little green panel on the side, doesn't it? Because that's to do with the loading gauge.
So it was a restriction panel to say that they couldn't work on the Hastings line because the Hastings line had a really thin tunnel where they basically cocked up building the tunnel the right width, and if you put the van through it, the van would be too close to the tunnel, so it was restricted from working through there. So it had a BR green panel on it with the writing to say it was restricted.
That one of the Bluebell. Sorry if we're going to digress here, but we like talking about trains. The Bluebell, did that actually ever run down there? And its job, or was it used down there as a parcel, do you think?
We're honestly not sure. We tried looking into it, and we couldn't get a definitive answer off of anyone on that one, being brutally honest. So we can't say one way or another.
No, but what this Bluebell one is a nice preservation one that you can have in modern era for your run, whatever you like kind of layout. Yeah. It's not going to look out of place stuck on the end if you wanted 8 different running numbers either. I'm not going to stop you buying as many as you like. All right?
Quite the reverse.
So that's a pretty white one. Now, then, for a short period, going into at the end of Era 5, going into Era 6, they became ice blue with a yellow dot, didn't they?
They did. So fundamentally, the fishermen at the ports complained that the white got dirty very quickly. So brake dust from running at speed, dirt from the locos got onto the white. Obviously, white is a colour associated with catering and chefs, but when they went kind of brown, it didn't really give off the right impression. So the fishermen and the unions got involved and said, we need a better colour. And BR had a bit of a wholesale change for insulated vehicles to the blue colour. So the Fishman fleet, most of them got painted in blue or got blue patches as required. So this is just slightly later on, again, still applicable for the back end of the steam era and green diesels and such like.
Absolutely. And we're doing a triple pack and a single. So there's 4 running numbers of your blue one.
And they can mix and match with the white ones as well, because some of them stayed white all the way through until they got repainted later on. So again, if you want to train 20 of them, you can go and buy the whole lot and put them all together legitimately.
They are.
Perfect.
Andy says it's okay.
I do.
Right. Now, the next life, BR Blue Express Parcels. Now, because these were actually, I assume, quite an expensive van, they were an insulated van, they had these decent bearings, they could run at a reasonable pace. So it's no wonder they got a new life, didn't they?
Exactly. So they were effectively passenger rated. So because of the roller bearings, the high speed, vacuum brakes throughout, they could run on the back of passenger trains. So in their early life, the fish vans got popped onto passenger trains to get them to the local line. But in later life, they got converted to parcels vehicles because, again, they could go on the back of other blue and grey coaches, or they could run as a train themselves to get newspapers out of London or wherever they're being printed to other cities across the country. So they were really useful vans, and being all metal bodied, they were nice and secure. They were really popular, and they were ahead of their time. But it was only the decline in fish traffic that meant they were available, and BR went, what can we use them for?
Yeah. Now, here's some good news for you guys. But we've obviously done a little bit of research, most of it done by these, but they allowed us to go away and have a look at running numbers, and we're picking some different running numbers from what these guys produced in 00. So we're doing an Eastern triple pack. We're also doing an Eastern single. We're doing a Midland triple pack, and we're doing a Western triple pack. Right? These are all for Era 7. So no one can say there isn't something for everyone. There is a little Southern in that one. We've got Eastern, Midlands and Western. And they ran all over the country, didn't they?
Absolutely. So there was regular services with them down to Cornwall. We've seen photos of them in Birmingham, West Coast Main Line, East Coast Main Line, all the way up to Scotland again.
Yeah.
And of course, the Eastern wagons would end up not just on the Eastern region. Of course, it was just where they were allocated to. So legitimately, if you're a Western modeller, you might have 2 or 3 Western ones because they were local, but you might want the Eastern pack as well because they would have tripped across. So you do regularly see, again, some of the block trains of them had multiple vans with different region numbers on them as well. So
Yeah.
just
I know that sounds like that we just want to sell as many as we possibly can, which is true.
Yeah.
But we also want to make sure you're aware that these things really are quite versatile.
Absolutely.
You know, they can be anywhere you want them to be.
Absolutely. And you know, we've got photos of them on the back of blue and grey Mark 1 coaches. We've got them on the front of blue and grey Mark 1 coaches with blue diesels. We've got photos of them being shunted around in Cornwall with 08s. You know, they just got everywhere. They were really useful.
And it's, although again people might argue that there were some specific things on specific trains, but I don't doubt for one moment that they pretty much got pulled by pretty much everything at some point.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. There's pictures of them with 37s and Hymex and steam engines and all sorts of bits here and there.
Yeah.
They got tops numbers, so they survived quite late. They were just
that colour. When did that first come into? Was that?
It would have come in with the corporate imaging stuff when these first got repainted. I don't exactly know, but again, BR Blue was around just at the cusp of steam stuff coming in. There are pictures of blue and grey Mark 1s with steam engines on the front of them. So again, you're just over into
again.
all the way.
I mean, the later Black 5 that Hornby are doing.
Yep.
Would have actually pulled some of these, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no,
particularly for the Midlands.
Not entirely unfeasible at all.
Right, Tim, you need to buy 3 triple packs. Okay, you asked for the Black 5, you got your Black 5. Here's something to pull with it. Right, its next life, okay, is these vans. Now we've got there is a third one. We've gone for because I think they're pretty. So this is era 7, pushing into 8.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. They've got nice wash stripes on the back, of course. This one is a re-railing wagon, actually one that was out in Hull. That one, is that called a department van?
Departmental numbers, so they got ADB numbers, so they were departmental use. So because the vans were bulletproof to a degree, the engineers department, so signal and telegraph or P-way, those sorts of people, when they became surplus, grabbed hold of them. They were lockable, they were nice and easy.
They keep all their tools in them. Yeah.
And again, they could move around at speed. So many of the departments grabbed hold of them, so there were some with generators built inside them. Really, really useful, and they got bright liveries as a result because the local depot would paint them to however they wanted to be able to spot them. So you see red, all sorts of fun things on them.
We've done one that just because I think it looks cool, and it's a black one, and that's the mechanical and electrical.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Yeah. So again, different departments within the making the railway
expensive kit. They can lock it up safely in one of these things.
Yeah, and they would have various different wagons for different bits of kit, but the fish vans are really popular for that. So we found quite a lot of them when we were doing the research that survived. Again, just a really useful vehicle. So
yeah, absolutely,
everyone liked them.
Now, some of you who are familiar with these wagons will say, well, also there were barrier ones. We haven't picked the barrier ones at this stage. It doesn't mean that we can't do them.
No.
Right? And it doesn't mean that we won't have to do them in the future. But, and here's the gag, guys, and you know what's coming. You should be, as I am, as excited about Rapido getting on board with our scale. But they are no different from any other manufacturer. They are going to respond to how you respond to what we're doing. All right. If these are a success, if If TMC decides to up numbers, if TMC decides to bring out different running numbers, or the brown ones, or the blue, the plain blue barriers, then I can only assume, he's probably not going to say it on camera, that this might actually make them do something different.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything...
Beyond what our commission, I mean.
We are a business, so we are always looking at how things go. And I mentioned earlier we're a very nimble business, so we can react to things. So without giving away too much, there may or may not be some more TT stuff in our brain to the future. If you turn around to me in the first week and say we've sold, 30-40% of these in the first week, that gives me a really good indication of what the market looks like, and we might move things around. So never say never, but the smile might tell you quite a lot.
Yeah. The one thing that I'm very happy about, guys, is that that I've been banging on doors and speaking to lots of other different manufacturers, and I've had a good relationship with quite a few of them. Right? What's quite refreshing is Rapido's attitude towards how they can respond to things. I'm not suggesting for one moment that other firms don't want to, but I think they've managed to work it in a way that's really quite effective. It's certainly something that we recognise as a retailer, me speaking on behalf of TMC. This is all very exciting, right? These are going to want to see some nice images, so I'm going to be pinging that all up stuff. Andy and I have got some other things to talk about, which you're not going to be party to for the moment, all right? So Andy, what I'd like to say right now is thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure.
It's been wonderful. I do rather like this little...
Our little hidden bit in the office, yes.
And people like spam cans. Just saying.
I wouldn't want to be on one of this heat wave, though.
No. Right. Guys, thank you so much. Take care. And cheery bye.
And that's all there is to tell. I'll be on my way now, sir. I've got urgent business in the south. I have to meet a man at Marlborough Junction.